Hello, my name is not John Green, it is Austin Ali, and welcome to Crash Course European History. Our period of European history begins in 1450 CE. Some important things happened during this time period, like the Avignon Papacy, the 100 Years' War, and the Black Death, both of which led to the end of feudalism. Another important thing in this time, known as the Middle Ages, we have the Renaissance. And the Renaissance gave birth to new ideas that essentially facilitated the rise, eventually, of Europe as the global power, the global hegemon. Hegemony. Let's consult our trusty APERB. There are 10 tests that we should focus on when reviewing for our AP European History exam. Middle Ages and Renaissance, Reformation and Religious Wars, 17th and 18th century monarchs, Scientific Revolution and Enlightenment, French Revolution and Napoleon's reign, the Fall Final Exam, the Industrial Revolution, Modern Nations and Thoughts, World War I, World War II and the Cold War.
We're Europe. The prime meridian runs through us. We're in the middle of every map. And we get to be a continent even though we're not a continent.
So we just talked about chapters 9 and 10 of our fabulous Kagan Euro book, which were the Middle Ages and Renaissance. Moving on to our second test of the year, we have the Reformation and Religious Wars. So that would be chapters 11 and 12 here. Chapter 11, let's see, we have the Reformation. The Reformation was started in 1715 by a man named... What's that, Stan? 1517? The Reformation was started in 1517 by a man named Martin Luther. Lutheranism in this time period would later gain some freedoms in the Peace of Augsburg in the Holy Roman Empire. However, this did not affect certain religions such as Calvinists, started by, of course, John Calvin. Calvinists, later on known as Huguenots in France, later gained toleration in the Edict of Nantes in 1598, and fully gained toleration almost 100 years later after the 30 Years' War in 1648, in the Peace of Westphalia. Another important thing about the Reformation is that it came in different parts. Another part from the traditional Protestant Reformation that we talk about is the Catholic Reformation, also known as the Counter-Reformation. Some other important European history 16th century things that happened in this time were, of course, the conquest of Latin America, the Gutenberg press being introduced to Europe, and the Spanish defeat at the Spanish Armada with Queen Elizabeth I of England at the helm of the victorious British Army. Next on our list, 17th and 18th century monarchs. Here we have Absolutism and Constitutionalism, chapter 13. Of course, that's talking about the English Civil War in England and the French King Louis XIV in France. The next test we'll cover is Test 3, 17th and 18th century monarchs. This is 2 chapters in our Euro book, Chapter 13 and Chapter 15. In Chapter 13 we discuss Absolutism and Constitutionalism. Here we have the English Civil War, and remember your JCOCJ, Charles I, Charles II, Oliver Cromwell, James I. Wait, what's that, Stan? I have it backwards. Charles I, Charles II, Oliver Cromwell, James II, James I. Is that right? Gosh, that's JCOCJ. No, that's not right. JCOCJ. James I, Charles I. James I, Charles I, Oliver II. It's harder than it looks. James I, Charles I. James I, Charles... JCOCJ. James the... So, after we finish talking about England and France going on, the next chapter here we have is chapter 15, talking about the emergence of new powers. And when it says that, it's talking about Frederick the Great, Peter the Great, and another great, the Great Northern War. The Great Northern War was fought between Sweden and Russia, and really isn't that important, so don't remember it. Some important things we do need to know. Peter I, he was the one to really westernize Russia. At this time in European history, Russia actually wasn't really European.
When they were conquered by Wait for it. The Mongols.
And Peter the Great was the one to bring it back. Oh, it's time for the open letter? An open letter to the Mongols. Dear Mongols, you're so not European. If only you could be European. What's that, Stan? This is European history. I know, that's what my point is. I'm talking about something that's totally not European because we totally don't have a European history test tomorrow and I'm not stressing about it last second.